Hello and welcome to the Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. All right, George, I want to talk to you about what has been suggested and Trump agreed with, is that Joe Rogan hold a 4-hour, continuous debate with the two major candidates here. And I'm all for it. Okay, I don't trust the networks to do this. Okay, in the last campaign we had CNN giving the Clinton campaign the questions in advance. All right, I think enough of us that have watched Joe Rogan, he wouldn't care. He would just laugh in their face, because from what I can tell, and I've watched quite a few of his podcasts, and the lion's share of them are quite good, I think. Why? Because he asks questions that we're interested in. He's not a puppet of special interest. He's not in the pocket, as far as we know, for anyone. Okay, and I think that's why he's become very, very popular. And what he does is that instead of really the nitty gritty of politics, he's much more of a astute observer of cultural trends. And I think he's really good at it. He likes it, and he comes at it from the point of view of the everyday guy. Okay, because even though he's very, very wealthy right now, and he's a comedian and a bodybuilder, he seems to be able to connect with just about any possible person that gets in front of him. And that's an amazing talent, believe me. So do you think this would give more authenticity to a debate?
I think it would. I doubt whether it will happen,
Yeah.
but I absolutely do think that that would be an improvement on what we've been regaled with in previous elections. I mean, remember, that it really is quite ridiculous, this practice that we now have, whereby we get establishment journalists asking the candidates their ridiculous questions. Remember, just a few examples. You had the 2012 election, when you had that CNN journalist who, for some reason, was the only one who was asking the questions. Who, first of all, she got into an argument with Mitt Romney, and then she actually got it wrong.
Yeah,
so
she fact-checked.
Yeah, she corrects what he said. But in fact, what he said was correct, and what she said was wrong. So she committed two major faux pas, which is A, you're interfering in the actual debate, which is supposed to be between the candidates. B, you're actually inserting incorrect information. And then we had the same thing in 2016. You remember that ABC News reporter who got into an argument with Trump about Syria? Again, she was only supposed to ask questions, but she got into an argument with the candidate, which you are not supposed to do as a reporter. So it's really quite absurd why we have these establishment reporters asking questions. I think we should either have it somebody like Joe Rogan or some ordinary person asking ordinary questions. Exactly what's on your mind? What issues do you want addressed? Or go to people who know something about a subject, and then they can ask specific questions about economics, foreign policy, or whatever. But at the moment, this is ridiculous. This whole thing. Well, we'll have Chris Wallace and whoever's the sort of the big guy at NBC. They ask these pompous questions, which often are just meaningless and incomprehensible. So yeah, absolutely.
The question is supposed to be more interesting than the answer, because they don't care about what the answer is. Okay.
Right.
This is a growing trend. Another thing is it goes something like this here. When we return to our presidential debate, we'll discuss healthcare, and then we have 5 commercials from pharmaceutical companies. Okay, like we're going to get a real debate on healthcare. Right. On a national stage. I mean, yes. It's embarrassing. I mean, they should be embarrassed that here they are. Their programming is propped up by these major corporations, and they don't even blush about it. Okay, so I think that's really a huge problem. You point out something that's really interesting, is that over the years, in watching politics, it's average people that ask the most interesting questions. You know why? Because it's meaningful to them in their lives. They're asking politicians, come to me where I am. Okay. Yep. because all these pompous asses on cable TV, they're angling for a new show, a raise, revenge against somebody, because they don't give a rat's ass about the people. They never do, because they don't live with the people. They have no idea how we live.
That's it. That's it. I remember it was already, it was some time ago. There was one of these open town hall meetings. It was just before some kind of a bombing mission on the part of the Clinton administration of Iraq, and just someone from the audience asked a simple question like, "Why exactly are we bombing Iraq?" And Madeleine Albright, who was then, I think, Secretary of State, was unable to answer the question. She started rambling, and the person who asked this reasonable question kind of pressed her. I still haven't heard an explanation as to why exactly are we bombing Iraq. And then she, of course, got very pompous and said, "Well, if you were in my classroom, I would, give you detention," or some nonsense like that. But that's the point. Then when they talk to these establishment journalists, they of course say, "Well, they ask the right kind of question. Is this helping Putin? What is Putin going to think about this?" That they can just, do their spiel. But when somebody asked, well, why exactly are we getting into a confrontation with Russia in Syria? What's there in Syria for us? They're completely unable to answer that simple question.
Why don't they just be honest? Why didn't Madeleine Albright say, "We're bombing Iraq because we can"?
Because we can. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. Okay.
That would be the honest answer. Yes.
That would be the honest answer. Okay. I mean, I find that really quite curious, is that I would much prefer them to give a straight answer like that. You may disagree with it, but you understand it. Okay. Yes. Because everyone knows we're being gaslit all of the time on all of these topics. Okay. My goodness. You talk about the wildfires in California, but these ridiculous low-octane thinking journalists will say, "Well, don't you think this benefits Putin?" It's like, it's a fire. It's a fire in California.
Yes, that's right. That is so. There's a particular kind of language game that they all play, and they're all part of it. And so they talk about Putin. What's Putin's game in 2020, and how should we thwart Putin, or what are we going to do about Assad and whatever. And there's a language game. They all understand the rules of it. The moment they step outside and an ordinary person just simply asks a simple, straightforward question, they're already floundering. And then they resort to Madeleine Albright. "Well, if you were in my classroom, I would, say, give you a detention." Or,
So why do we have systemic racism in America? Why are American cities burning? Well, Putin's doing this. It's part of his game plan. That's it.
Yeah.
What's the film? The mouse that roared it was the Grand Duchy of Fenwick. Okay, this is where all these people are from. The Grand Duchy of Fenwick. The Mouse That Roared is one of the greatest films ever. Peter Sellers is in that one too, isn't he? Yeah, great. Oh God, George, we're so old. Okay, all right, we're gonna leave it at there. I think that Joe Rogan should host a debate. I think it would give a lot more authenticity. I think a lot more people would tune in. And he wouldn't play any favorites, and he'd be equally hard on both. You know why? Because he doesn't really care. Okay, he doesn't have a dog in this fight. Okay, and I think that the American people, the voters, deserve it, because every time they serve up these things, it's just it's milquetoast, and everyone's looking for the theatrics. Okay, that's the atmospherics. Okay. God forbid they talk about policy. Thanks, George. And thank you for watching the Gaggle here. If you like this, please like, share, and subscribe. And we're going to be pumping them out. See you soon.